LeBron James is without a doubt the best player in the world. And in today's video, we're going to discuss that and just why he still is. Now, as a disclaimer to everyone who thinks that Kevin Durant is the best player in the world, I can understand that argument because he was going crazy before he went down with this injury, not just in that finals game, but throughout the entire postseason, he was averaging over 30. But because he did tear his Achilles, let's remove him from this conversation for now. There are three players that were in the best in the world conversation this season: Kawhi Leonard, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and LeBron James. And I know some people may be throwing other guys in there like Luka and Harden, but those guys weren't really favorited to even get out of the Western Conference. And in the case of Luka, second-year player, a lot of people didn't even know how he was going to play in the playoffs, and some people wanted to hold off in their opinions by where he ranked in the league until then, and he definitely proved it, but I don't think he's in the best in the world conversation just yet, even though he's kind of in the mix for being considered a top 5 player. I just wouldn't put him in the best in the world convo. I just think that's a little too early. Next year, he can definitely get in that though. But to me, the three candidates were Kawhi because of his postseason run last year, Giannis being the reigning league MVP, on pace to win another MVP, in which he did accomplish this year, and LeBron James, who now added Anthony Davis to his roster and was eliminated from the convo because he missed the playoffs last year. But now this year, with the Lakers getting the first seed, Clippers getting the second seed, and eventually losing to the Denver Nuggets after blowing a 3-1 lead, the conversation is vastly changed to a lot of people, and LeBron, in my opinion, has taken that throne. But first, let's look at the other contestants and why they are not the best player in the world, and then I will talk about why I believe the best player is LeBron. In the case of Giannis Antetokounmpo, Giannis is definitely one of the best players that the league has ever seen already. Even at this point in his career, I think he's a top 50 player of all time, 2-time MVP in back-to-back seasons, and hell, with the way things are going, who knows if he could even get another MVP next year and make it a 3-time MVP 3 consecutive years in a row. That would be some Larry Bird shit. He even won the Defensive Player of the Year this year. I will never take anything away from what Giannis has not only accomplished this year, but throughout his entire career in such a quick period of time. I have to say, Giannis has definitely come up very quickly over the last 5 years. But when you consider the fact that Giannis still does not have a reliable jumper and cannot score consistently outside of the paint, doesn't really have a go-to move other than that straight line drive, it's really tough to put him over guys like LeBron or even a Kawhi Leonard and Steph Curry, who have the ability to be versatile in their offensive skill set to the point that the opposing team can't use it as a weakness. Sure, Steph Curry's not great defensively, but offensively he provides such a variety. Sure, Kawhi Leonard's not that great of a playmaker, but he can score in a multitude of ways which make him different. But Giannis, because of his, I hate to say it, one-dimensional scoring skill set, yeah, it's very easy to be able to stop that if you're a defense. Or at least, let me not say it's very easy because you have to have the personnel for it, but when you do, it's very easy. You guys get my point. We saw the Toronto Raptors do it to him last year, and we saw it again this year as the Miami Heat not only made that wall, but they even fouled him a lot intentionally because he can't make free throws. That's another issue with Giannis. His free throw ability is terrible, and if he had just made a couple more free throws last year in the conference finals, they would be NBA champions because I believe they would have beaten the Toronto Raptors. So yeah, it's actually pretty crazy, Giannis's lack of a jumper. It just completely changes how he plays, and his effectiveness goes down drastically. And because they don't have another great shot creator on that team, or actually they don't even have one great shot creator because Giannis isn't even a great one. Chris Middleton is solid, but he's not great. Bledsoe has no three-point jumper and gets worse in the playoffs. He's a consistent playoff underperformer. So yeah, the pieces around him aren't enough to make up for his weakness, and that automatically disqualifies him from being the best player in the world, especially considering how he's now gone out in back-to-back consecutive disappointing performances in the Eastern Conference. Whether it's in the semifinals or in the conference finals, Giannis cannot be the best player in the world. But moving on to the next candidate, we have Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard was coming off of a very historic postseason run last year in which he averaged 30 points per game along with grabbing 9 rebounds, and he beat not only the Orlando Magic in the first round in 5, but he then beat the Philadelphia 76ers in 7 games alongside his buddies in Toronto, but he kind of had to do a little bit of carrying in that series, I gotta be honest with you, and he hit one of the greatest shots in Game 7, giving them the lead, and then also going into Milwaukee and beating the Milwaukee Bucks, led by the current reigning league MVP in Giannis Antetokounmpo in 6 games. He then do the same thing, play well against the Golden State Warriors, and capture his second Finals MVP along with his second championship. And me, alongside a lot of other people, thought that he was the best player in the world. Fast forward to this year, alongside Paul George, he had one of the worst, and I mean worst, performances of his entire life. Arguably the worst performance of his life, shooting 6 of 22 from the field in Game 7, going 1 of 10 in the second half, and actually even going scoreless throughout the entirety of the fourth quarter. Kawhi was terrible. He couldn't buy a bucket. They couldn't even stop Jamal Murray. He was putting buckets on all of them. It was a really tough situation, and he went out sad, and it's very simple why he's not the best player. It's because he was not able to kind of adjust his game in those moments. Because if you realize, the Nuggets tried to force Kawhi to be a playmaker. And sure, Kawhi is a better defender than LeBron, and you could argue a better rebounder and a little bit more versatile as a scorer because of his ability to shoot. But when you consider the fact that as a playmaker, they forced him to do that and take on that role, not only the Clippers, but the Nuggets wanted him to do that as well, and he couldn't do it enough to get them that W. Because I think if you put LeBron in that situation, he can create plays for others, and that was the Clippers' biggest weakness that we were hearing throughout the entirety of the season, which then leads into LeBron James himself. He's a playmaker that Kawhi Leonard isn't, and sure, he isn't the defender that Kawhi is, but he still plays it at a borderline elite level when he does try. So the value in Kawhi being a better defender than LeBron really isn't that much when you consider that playmaking was the biggest issue for his team, and he couldn't fill up that issue. Meanwhile, LeBron can fill up that issue in a major way, because not only did he lead the league in assists, but he's one of the greatest playmakers and passers in the history of the game. This year averaging 25 points along with 10 assists and grabbing 7 rebounds while shooting nearly 50% from the field and around 34 to 35% from 3. It's clear that LeBron James is not only the best player in the world, but he is still the king, and Father Time has not caught him yet. And honestly, I gotta be real, the best player in the league is determined in the playoffs, and LeBron this postseason, out of all the contenders, is the only one left standing. And like I said earlier in the video, if you believe KD's the best player or Steph Curry, I can understand those arguments, more so KD, because Steph, I don't think he's the best player. Even when he was playing, I don't think he was the best player. You could argue a couple years, but that's really it. And honestly, I just think those conversations you got to kind of put on the hold right now, because they are out due to an injury, especially KD, who tore his Achilles. Nobody knows how he's going to come back from that. Obviously, I'm wishing him well, but you guys get my point here. LeBron James is the best player in the world. His numbers prove it, leading the league in assists at year 17. May not be the greatest defender in a way that Giannis is, because Giannis is just insane on that side of the ball. And sure, he may not be the shooter that Kawhi Leonard is, but because of the fact that he's still capable in those areas and is a better shooter than Giannis is, and is also a better playmaker than Kawhi is, yeah, it makes up for the fact that he may not be as good as them in certain areas that he's still really good at. So in a way, LeBron being an all-around player, ironically, even though I kind of despise that phrase because of how they use it for LeBron's arguments, that's what makes him the best player in the world, at least in 2020. But that concludes this video. This is your boy David from NBA Knowledge. If you like this video, make sure you hit that like button. Love what you see from this channel. Hit that subscribe button and push that bell. Y'all stay safe and have a great day. Make sure you wear a mask. I'm out. Peace.